Okay, so I'm going to paint a cow steer from Spain. Reference photo very kindly provided by Lorraine. Thank you, Lorraine. And I'm starting out with my usual mixed media paper, De La Rowney A2, flat synthetic brush, and this is a mixture of turquoise and a bit of titanium white. And these are conventional acrylics, so I normally use the interactives, or for the most part I would say I use the interactives. Sometimes I use a combination, so sometimes I paint with conventional acrylics, and once they're dry I use the interactives on top. But today I'm going to be kind of doing an expressive, experimental painting, or maybe a drawing. We'll see how much of the paper I end up covering, because that will kind of affect my view of the finished piece as to whether it's a painting or a drawing. But really taken by the patterning on this particular animal, and just thought I'd have a bit of fun doing something a little bit different to what I've been doing recently with my cattle paintings. So I'm deliberately holding this long-handled brush right at the far end from the bristles, trying to stay loose and expressive. So I'm definitely trying to put my lines in the right spot, but at the same time, when I decide to make a mark, I'm, just trying to be bold and expressive about it. And then that will inevitably lead to some inaccuracies, but sometimes what you end up with can be more visually interesting than the reality. Yeah, but it doesn't always work out that way, but we'll see how it goes. So it doesn't always work out that way, but we'll see how it goes. So for example, at a glance, at least, I think these legs are perhaps a little too long, but at the moment, I'm still sort of enjoying the way things are looking. Now, whether that would change or not remains to be seen. Now, a good tip is to, if you want to get things roughly right, is to look at the distance between the tip of the toe of the rear foot and the leg. So it's around about there. And then once you've got that established, you can kind of be a bit bolder. And I was going to say, put the mark in as long as you hit that dot, and I didn't quite make it, but I'll live with that. It's close enough for what I'm doing. So I quite like that dry brush effect for the hooves. It's meant to be a bit of the tail showing in between the two rear legs. Now back up to the head. And I think I don't know that I made the head too small, but the body has sort of grown as I became looser and looser. So that's always a bit of a danger. So I'm going to come back in. Actually, that bit's not too bad. So I don't think it's so much that. I think I just need to, so I was kind of aware of this. I think the animal's got sort of a little bit of a fluffy top to the head, so we'll assume that it is, and add a little bit of texture there. Could have been a bit broader in the forehead as well, I think. I'm going to stick with this color and start to add a little bit of shadow. Obviously, I need to add the horns in a bit. We'll get to that. Whoops, that was a little bit of a mistake, but we'll disguise that there. Nose is dark. Now I can have a bit of fun with the kind of speckled or dappled patterning on the flank of the animal, but while I am being fairly loose and adding a random element to the marks I'm putting down, I'm keeping the general flow of those marks in a kind of curve to enhance the roundness of the torso. And then when I come back here to the speckling back here, I'm going to make those marks a little concave to suggest a little bit the concave nature of that part of the body. Now I've got these front feet too close together, but as mentioned, we're not aiming for total reality here. I'm not sure I'm very happy with what I just did to the bottom of that leg, but I'll leave it for the moment and then we'll see where we end up. So just a sort of spur of the moment decision there, I just decided to depict the curvature of the horns with a series of completely straight marks using the ends of the bristles. So again, I think it's a really healthy thing to do creatively, to just play, really. Be inspired by the thing you're drawing. And it doesn't matter whether it's a cow or a vase, a person or a truck. Okay, so now I need to give this animal some kind of an environment. So obviously I'm just sticking with this one colour at the moment. I do plan to add some others in a bit. So I haven't rolled the brush at all for the depiction of the animal, but if I do that for the background, it immediately gives it a different character, even though I'm using the same colour. Okay, well, let's switch to this. I haven't cleaned my brush out at all, but I'm switching to this purple, this violet I've got here. And again, let's continue to have some fun. So, got some dark shadow and or colouring at the tips of the horn here. So we'll use this purple in place of that. It's a bit of a cast shadow there. And I can enhance the fluffiness of the top of the head. Bit of curvy dry brush along the underside of the horn there. So really, I more or less picked these two colours out of the paint drawer, more or less at random. So again, that's something I would recommend. Once in a while. Is don't think about things too much and just pick two colours at random and just start playing with them. See where you end up. And obviously, not everything will work out wonderfully, but sometimes you come across a new direction that you might not have discovered otherwise, or at least that it works for me anyway. Now, this one horn is casting this wonderful shadow across the forehead there. I need to make the nose a little fuller. The body a little broader out here, I think. There's a dark area here on the sort of on the shoulder that I missed before. Now I've just wiped my brush off. I haven't washed it, but I've just wiped it off. So I'm coming back in with a lot of the white, but just I'm going to add a touch of the turquoise now. And I do have a third colour coming up. But I'm going to use this white and a hint of turquoise for some of just the paler and cooler shadows on the animal. But at the same time, I don't want to lose all of the sketchiness and initial marks that I've made. Okay, so now I have actually washed my brush out, and I'm going to start by adding some fluorescent orange next. So put a touch there. Whoops. Come on, push. Put a touch here as well. Now, there's an ear tag in that ear, and the other one actually, and I'm going to ignore those, but I'm inspired by them to put a touch of the orange there. Put a bit here. And then I think I'm just going to mix that little bit of orange I've got left on my brush in with a lot of white. Perhaps just get a little bit more there. And hopefully that'll give me a very warm, or sorry, a slightly warmer pale highlight compared to what I've used before. And just managed to pick up a bit of that turquoise off the painting, which I didn't intend to do. And just add a touch more orange to that same mix. I'm just thinking about putting something, yeah, I think that's going to be okay. Just put a few little pops of colour in the sky. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry now, and then once it's dry, I'll come back in and add a few licks of detail to the head and, perhaps some other parts. So here's a look at the finished painting, but before I go into this one in detail, let me show you a couple of other paintings I did a few years ago where the animal is in a similar pose, and again I've used wild colours but hopefully fairly reasonably accurate line work. So the first one is the Courage of Youth. You may recognise that from other videos, and I use it as my logo actually, my sort of avatar quite often on my social media. And then this one is called the Luminary, I think. Can't remember for sure. Pretty sure it's the Luminary. I have to check that. But back to today's painting. So obviously this is not a photographically realistic representation of the animal or indeed the landscape, but I'm very happy with the colour scheme, and the little experiment kind of paid off from my point of view. I don't know how well it comes across on camera, but the pop of the fluorescent orange next to the turquoise and the violet really is a strong colour combo. It really, it's really got a sense of glow to it, so I'm very happy with that. Perhaps my favourite bit of the painting, though, is you can see that this line of the back is still showing through the horn, so it's almost as if the horn is transparent. And I was aware of that and decided to leave the line in. But my favourite bit is the fact that completely by accident, the cast shadow on the forehead, the line of that shadow continues in line perfectly with the line of the back. So that wasn't intentional, but I don't know, there's something I just like about that. It's just, I don't know, I can't quite put it into words, I don't think, but I just like the fact that those two are perfectly in line with each other. So there we go, a experiment in using different colours and taking a very surreal approach to depicting, what is possibly considered to be a conventional subject. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks very much for watching, and hope to see you next time.